Welcome, everybody, to the Fall Line with Chaos and Company. I'm Dave Capron, and I'm here with my co-host and co-creator of the Fall Line, Angelo Ross. And we are here today to highlight Angelo Ross's new project. Angelo has created a little something. It's called MasterCoach. And I was hoping, Angelo, why don't you fill us in a little bit and give us an intro on the MasterCoach?
This is like the shameless plug episode of Chaos and Company, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. We've got you're doing something pretty cool here, and I think a lot of the people that listen will be really interested.
Well, thanks. Yeah, MasterCoach. One word. See how clever there, MasterCoach. I invented a word. Yeah, it's a business that I created, and the focus is training for professional educators, coaches, instructors, and guides in interpersonal skills, people skills, and instructional methodologies. So that's the 30,000 foot view of MasterCoach.
So what inspired you to go this route? I know you kind of changing things up in life, and how did this come about?
I've been thinking about doing this project for quite a few years. I sat through 20 years of in-service trainings as a school teacher. And I can remember, honestly, two of them that really jumped out as excellent. And not that the others weren't good and not that the people weren't qualified. I just always felt like as a faculty, we could have done that. We could have put together, if the administration had looked at the resources on the faculty and tapped into certain people for certain things, we could have done it ourselves. And I'm just a big believer in doing it yourself when you can. Obviously, if you need outside help on something, that's great. But I feel like a lot of times in businesses, particularly school districts and businesses, in-house resources are not utilized, probably for a lot of different reasons. And I don't know if it was the pandemic or just the experiences that I've had since retiring and shifting gears into the things that I'm doing now that really were the catalyst for that. But yeah, 6 months ago, I just sat down and registered the business with the state, registered the LLC and it was rolling,
Yeah, because you've registered with the state and have it with full-on credits, and I was hoping you could explain that because that relates a little bit to the coaching culture workshop that you have planned, right?
Yeah, so that one of the things that I did as I created it was I applied with the Pennsylvania Department of Education, the State Department of Ed, to be what's called an accredited Act 48 provider. So in the state of Pennsylvania, Act 48 is the legislation that requires professional school teachers to get continuing education credits. So districts can provide those, and anybody who provides them has to do this application process. Districts can apply to create their own trainings that offer these credits to their own teachers. And then, of course, businesses can too. So I went through that process. And in doing so, you have to register particular workshops. So I created a workshop called Coaching Culture and did the application for that particular training workshop. So that's the one that's accredited through the state. And that workshop really encompasses the largest ideas within my business. And again, that's, that like MasterCoach is a little bit of a play on words. So is coaching culture. And it's MasterCoach coming in and coaching organizational culture, as the product of the workshop, but also just the idea that creating a culture of coaching within workshops, within trainings, within classrooms, within ski clinics on the Hill, as an example, is sort of a shift away from what we typically see. I think what you see generally in on the ski hill, in human resource trainings, in workshops generally, is really sort of a top-down sage on the stage. I'm going to stand here and present at you mentality, which in my experience isn't as effective as using, again, comes back to using the resources in the room. When you get to the level where you're dealing with professionals, whether they're certified ski instructors, whether they're ski patrollers, race coaches, classroom teachers, human resource professionals, corporate trainers, when you get to that level, you have a lot of resource in the room. And it's a better approach when working with those folks, I believe, to utilize them. Like, here are the ideas. Now, what do you think about them? What can we all contribute now and take away from this event so that we all leave better?
And to make sure folks understand the coaching culture plan you have there, the workshop, it's definitely geared towards your Pennsylvania educators and that, but that's not all it'll work for, as you've just been speaking about. I mean, that you're looking for this to be a little more to hit the other genres of what you're looking at for guides and ski instructors and that, yes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct. If a school district in Pennsylvania were to use my services, they would purchase from MasterCoach the coaching culture workshop. It comes complete with there's an approved curriculum approved by the State Department of Ed, and then there are follow-up things that have to be done by these school teachers in order to be awarded those credits. But that being said, anyone who reached out and was interested in that people skills piece specifically, looking at individuals examining themselves or the organizational culture as a whole, workshops outside of public education workshops wouldn't be all that different from the coaching culture workshop. That being said, everything that I offer is fully customizable, and that's one of the nice pieces. I think that when somebody reaches out and says, "Hey, we'd like you to come in and work with our crew," whether that's a small group of people, maybe it's the HR training department, maybe it's the whole organization. At that point, the wheels go in motion for the customization piece. Like, I want to get to know the people that I'm coming to work with, because I want them to be satisfied with the product, obviously, but there will be resources there. And that. You go do a ski clinic at a resort, or you go do a PSIA event at a resort, and very often most of the people in your group are from the home area, right? So you get 8 people from this particular resort, and then 2 people who drove a little while to get there to get their event in. But those 8 people are a huge resource. Like, they know where the good snow's going to be. They know what time to go to which slope. They know where the crowd's going to be. And they know where the teaching terrain is. They know the boots on the ground answers to the questions that you're going to cover all day. So of course you use those people, and any good coach does that.
Yeah, and you led into kind of some of the things I was going to ask here of how you can, if you can elaborate a little bit even more than you just did on the custom programs, and how folks, for me looking at it, and as we've discussed this before the podcast, as you planned this out, it was interesting that your MasterCoach and your coaching culture really takes an avenue towards more of the people skills, the teaching components, separate of content itself. The content will be there. But so these are things I think that like ski pros, ride pros, or guides can really look at for some of their presentation type skills. And I just wondered if you could kind of elaborate on how they could customize, or, figure, will you come to them? Will they come to you? How will the program kind of work that way?
Mm-hmm. Well, as far as where, location, all of the above. I'm happy to go anywhere, and I'm happy to have people come to me, and I'm happy to do things online or any combination. So that whatever people want. But yeah, in terms of presentation skills, for sure, communication is part of the interpersonal skills curriculum. Communication skills often overlapped and overlapping, and often called leadership skills. It's really there's a lot of cross pollination between communication and leadership. But that's definitely a piece of it, and I think what's cool about what I offer compared to things I've seen, and granted, I haven't seen everything, but I've seen quite a bit. I think what's cool about it is that when we look at culture, it starts with the individual, and to me, that's the hardest piece. Like, we talk about the soft skills, but in reality, I think that the soft skills are really the hardest skills. This is where we get into our deep psychology. And I don't claim to be like a qualified psychologist or psychiatrist, but I have taught seminar courses, and I've been involved with, I ran a leadership camp for a while before I was a school teacher. And I've been involved in that curriculum for a lot of years. The shortcoming with a lot of them is that people don't really get a way to examine themselves objectively and ask themselves some hard questions, and also ask people they trust those hard questions. Hey man, what am I like? Like, hey Dave, what am I like on Chaos and Company? Because we all have these habits that we fall into when we're stressed. And some people try to get, and you think about this, you see it all the time. Some people go out of their way to be over the top funny. That's their go-to. Some people back off into the corner. Other people get bossy. Some people, we all have these habits that very often we don't examine, and then there's the added layer that, like, oh, I think I'm funny, but hey, Dave, am I funny? No, man, you're not funny at all. Like, you should maybe think about a different approach. You know what I mean? Objectively assessing, analyzing, considering your individual habits of character and how that can impact and create culture. And that's what it's about. To me, that's what it's about. Too easy to sit back and critique an organizational culture. I read this thing one time. It says deconstruction is the lowest form of analysis, which means anybody can sit around and bitch about how lame some big organization is. And we do that with government. Oh, government's crazy. But what the fact of the matter is that it's made of us. It's made up of individuals. And so is an organization's culture. So for me to sit around and complain about the culture of a business where I work is really short-sighted. I should be looking at certainly there are other influences, but the first stop to changing it is looking at yourself. And that's really hard to do for all of us, every single one of us.
So will you have accompanying coaches or presenters, or is it going to be just a solo thing for everything? I mean, are you looking to pull in people for certain things to help out with MasterCoach, or?
It's solo now. I feel comfortable right now with the volume of work and the content. But certainly if somebody were to call me and request something that I felt was above my pay grade, I'm fortunate to know a vast network of people who are geographically, it might be more appropriate for them to go, but also skill set wise. If somebody calls me and asks for something beyond my realm of expertise, I feel like I know enough people and have enough colleagues that I'd certainly be happy to bow out, and facilitate the setup, and then, give them the resources and get out of the way.
Yeah, it's a great resource for folks, even if they have questions like, does Angelo going to deliver this? They should give her a ring and find out, because you do know quite a few folks.
Yeah. And there's a website. So it's www.master-coach.org is the website. And there's contact information on there. But I'm happy to work with any organization that calls, race coaches, ski patrols, snow sports schools. Obviously, that's what we talk about on here. But totally unrelated, industrial, corporate world, HR departments. I'm happy to go into public schools, private schools, camps, outfitters, whatever. I've done work in all those sorts of places.
So when folks are thinking about maybe possibly looking at your website or giving you a call, what are some of the thoughts they should have for maybe questions to ask you, or I don't know if questions is kind of the right thing, but things they should think about that they can help them know what they want to ask you when they call. It's that thing of versus saying, what can you do for me? what are the things they should think about of like, what are they trying to achieve? Or, is there some things you're going to tell them like, what are you trying to achieve? What do you think's missing? I don't know. Maybe you have better questions than that.
Well, I think they should have an idea of what their goals are, what they think they want. And this is true of all of us. A lot of times we think we want something and then learn that maybe what we actually want is this. But I think anybody who calls asking for some thoughts would have an idea of what they want, like what they want to get out of it. I think it's really important to consider who their target audience is. Because like, for example, if coaches call me, their audience is athletes, right? You approach athletes different than if a ski patrol calls, their audience is typically patients, resort guests and patients is their wheelhouse. They're going to approach those folks a particular way. If an HR department calls me, their target audience is typically new employees, or existing employees. But depending on who the target audience is, you're going to write your curriculum and you're going to write it differently, and you're going to have goals appropriate to that audience. And I think those two things, like what do you want and who's your audience? And then we can sort of together fill in the blanks.
Cool. So what are the chances down the road with your love of outdoor education and outdoor adventures to have like a bike tour or an outing adventure or some kind of experiential outdoor? Is that going to, or maybe it already is going to be kind of part of your MasterCoach, linking those things together?
Yeah, 100%. Like if folks go on the website, they'll see that it's divided up. There are outdoor opportunities and there are indoor classroom opportunities that include the online stuff. But yeah, totally comfortable doing outdoor ed. I'm fully insured for hiking, biking, skiing, the whole bit. So I'm happy to do stuff on the bike trail. I'm happy to do stuff on a hiking trail. And my background, my teaching background is ecology. So I'm happy to do interpretive hikes, for example, that turn into team building and communication skills analysis, that sort of thing. Yeah, anywhere, indoors, outdoors, online, combinations, it's all good.
That's awesome. And I know you kind of get that, you kind of joke at yourself that like a personal plug, but I think this is great info for people to share with others, to know. And I know just sitting down, having conversations, we talk a lot about these things that you're building into your programs. And I learned from them. I think a lot of people out there can. And I guarantee, even if, some of our ski pros and that, our friends and that, and people you ski with are going to ask you questions now knowing the stuff. So it's great info for everybody. And of course, I wish you the best. And I think that hopefully our listeners out there of the Fall Line with KS and Company will share this when it gets out there on Facebook and we pop it out so that some of the folks they know will see it and get you some folks to come in and buy that coaching culture workshop.
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. And if you want to hear, it's going to get really gross with self-promotion because I noticed you're wearing a shirt I designed. I am.
I got it on. See, I'm
oh my God. Well, and so am I. That's so gross. Yeah. I do. I own two businesses, and so MasterCoach is one, right? And that is what it is. But I also do some artwork on the side. So naturalcause.org is Natural Cause is my other my graphic design gig that I do on the side. And that you're wearing a shirt that I did. Mike Mayer, one of the trainers on my staff, is an excellent alpine and telemark skier, and he's really he's such a good motivator, and he wanted to do the shirt you're wearing for the Appalachian Telemark Association last year. And that was a fun design to do. And I, of course, am wearing the Chaos and Company three-quarter sleeve raglan t-shirt today, which is available on naturalcause.org. So they're dripping with self-promotion.
Yeah. Well, I got the shirt from Mike. I got to tell Mike this winter, and that was what I got at the end of the clinic, which is pretty cool. So
he's going to want royalties now.
Yeah, there you go. He's going right.
But he owes, I think he owes me a bunch of beers for things anyway. And so it'll all come out in the wash. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, it was great talking to you today about the MasterCoach. And I know it's going to do really awesome. And thanks for listening out there, folks. And Chaos and Company is back. We got some podcasts coming out and will throughout the summer and fall. Thanks for listening to The Fall Line with Chaos and Company. I'm Dave Caper, and I'm here with my co-host, Angelo Ross, and we hope everyone's enjoying this summer.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, everybody.